Wynne Intermediate School of Innovation engages parents, the community, families, and students as partners to design learning that prepares students for college, career, and community. Since 2016, Wynne has been on a journey to transform learning so that it is personalized, creative, student-led, and experience-based. In 2019, Wynne Intermediate joined the National League of Innovative Schools, and in 2020 received Highly Effective Schools accreditation through Solution Tree.
We're all about kids, whatever it takes, kids first motto kind of thing here. So I think that's the first thing. The community, it's an amazing community. I moved here about 7 years ago, and so it was one of the things that was told to me when we got here was how important the community was, how it picks you up and it provides for you. And so even though that we have an amazing administration and our school district, they try to provide whatever they can, but anything that's not provided for, the community always steps in and kind of provides, and they support our activities, they support what we're doing here. They give us good input and good critical feedback as far as things that we can do better and things that they want to see out of their community. Miss Holloway was here before, Sandra Holloway, amazing woman, my mentor, lady I look up to a lot, and so she blazed the path. She was here, she got us into the School of Innovation, she was able to show us kind of how kids were learning, where they were going, and kind of where we were missing the boat, which was engagement.
Hello, my name is Emma Moore. Today is Friday, February 26, 2021. For lunch, you can choose from the following: pizza, bicycle stick, or rib sandwich. Today's week, socially and emotionally, using your hands, hearts, and minds.
Students celebrating birthdays today, this weekend are. Thank you.
Have a great day.
I really love the teachers because they all explain things very good. They all help you and explain different things that you do wrong. And my teacher, or all four of my teachers, they all set good goals to all of the students there, and they're all very kind to all the students.
To me, when I think of Wynne Intermediate, I think family. I mean, on the backboard in my room, it says, in this classroom, we're family. And I refer to that all year long. I mean, I feel like I can go to Mr. Wingo and Miss Taylor, and I feel like they just support us. And even Miss Holloway, I mean, I talk to her every week because she's tutoring one of my students. I mean, she's just so involved still. And I feel like we're just all about the kids. I mean, when you think of a school, that's what we're supposed to be. And that's what we are. I mean, the kids really are what we care about. And to me, that makes me proud to be a teacher here. We personalize the learning for the kids. My playlist, it goes in whatever order they want. If you've already worked on Lexia this week and you don't feel like you need any more, then work on something else, And so I feel like the kids' needs, and that always, it's number one.
The journey has been a roller coaster. When I first started, I was way down here because I had no idea how to make it work, and I was all virtual. And I was trying to figure out how to incorporate math and science at home for those kids who don't have all the supplies we have here at school. The manipulatives, the science supplies. So I had to do a lot of prep work for like fractions, how to bring that in for them to visually see it. in science, I'm constantly having to think of like what's in the kitchen that they could go easily grab and use. In the science experiment, I used a straw to teach them with pitch, how to have different pitches, because most kids would more likely have a straw, even if it's from like leftover from McDonald's cup or a Sonic cup at home, that they could easily use. And then my in class today struggled with it so that virtual kids were trying to help us edit it. And so it's really cool at how they balance off each other. It makes it actually very personal. You get to know a whole lot more and build more connections with me having the blended virtual and in class. And I've finally found a niche for myself that is working very well in my class. And that is when I present a problem to both groups, it's on a whiteboard so the virtual kids see it at home, and then my in-class kids are seeing it as well, and they have a whiteboard in class, and the kids at home also have a whiteboard that we have given to them that their parents picked up from the school so they can easily have the same tools. And when I show a problem, the next step I do is one in-class kid is picked, one virtual kid is picked, and the virtual kid tells and walks the in-class kid through whatever the problem is. So then everyone's engaged in it.
Having conversations with the students whenever they weren't participating or whenever they didn't understand, hey, what's going on? Talk to me. And the student might say, well, I'm embarrassed, I don't really understand, or something, and then we said, hey, that's okay. You can say to your group, guys, I think someone else should lead first and then let me lead, and we've had those conversations, and then that taught us what we needed to do with our expectations. So having those conversations with them was really the biggest thing that impacted how we designed the classroom. We've also learned a lot from each other. For example, with the co-teach students, a lot of times visual models are really important. And so if we're teaching together and she thinks of a different way to represent that, then she jumps up there and she represents it. And then I support her in that. So we kind of change up our roles a lot. So we've both adopted a similar style of teaching, and most of it is because we just have these conversations about how are your students understanding? Are they being, responsible with their learning? Are they being held accountable for their learning? We really want them to be active and own it.
I also teach 4th grade, co-teach math, and so a lot of the kids that we have this year I had last year. So I'm able to say, hey, this is how we taught this skill last year. Let's take this and build upon what they already know.
I teach in small group. I don't teach in whole group, which is odd. I've been teaching for 25 years, and in small group, you're able to get to know your learner a little bit more in depth, their strengths, their weaknesses. I group them in small groups so that I have high, medium, and low. They pair up, of course they're masked up, but they pair up and discuss whatever. And then they can go back and they can talk more in depth about whatever the topic is. Okay, so when you asked about strengthening learners, when I'm meeting with a small group, and I call them my audience that is out and away and working on goals or assignments on their playlist, students that have already met their goal or they have taken care of the needs that are on the playlist, then they have, at the bottom of the playlist, they have an opportunity to do research on a topic that has been cleared with me that then they can present. And so once a month, they do that. They get to share that real quick. It's like a 5-minute, just, little talk about it. And it just sparks then others to say, hey, I want to meet my goals. I want to get my responsibilities taken care of so that I can do that little research.
School of Innovation took us to a different level because we had to book studies about growth mindset, about how to change our cultures in the classroom, about what kids needed. And we had to do several book studies. We had to participate in surveys. We had to go through and as a group change the whole way that we view teaching. because we went from teaching in front of the class as a lecture model to engaging students in small group models and bringing them back to the table and doing all kinds of stuff.
Our PLC process is when the teachers, we all come together and we can just bounce ideas off of each other and collaborate and learn different strategies to listen to what other teachers are doing in their classrooms. And so for me, that's been very helpful for me, even as the assistant principal now, which this is my first year as assistant principal, but being the instructional facilitator. So when I would go into the classroom to teach lessons or to model lessons, I found myself using strategies that the teachers had talked about during our PLC process. And so that, and just having a team of people that we can come together, we can talk about what's working or what's not working. Hey, let's try this or let's try that. And I think this overall, the support system and the collaboration for me as an adult learner has been very powerful.
You know, that's what we do. We engage. We find out what kids need, what they like, you know, what they're passionate about. Let's try to get them involved in things here and not just a teacher in the front of the classroom teaching a group of students that are sitting in desk. And so we want that to be more than that. We want it to be an experience for them. You know, here in the Delta, we don't have a lot of, there's not a ton of things that we can just go to and see, and we make the most of what we have, but we bring experiences inside the school in order so the kids can see those things. So knowing your students first and foremost, and that's kind of what we talk about here, is that if you don't know your students, it doesn't really matter. Like, you have to know your students because every student's different, every classroom's different, the kid that comes in there has different needs. And so, like, if you don't know them, if you don't have a relationship with that child, you can't teach that kid, or you can't, find out what they need. And so that, for me, is main. That's the number one.
The Shine Committee is a place for students to have a voice in the community and in the school. It also gives the students kind of a voice to kind of see or get an outreach in the community for, like, if someone who's moving to Wynne, Arkansas, and they want to know a little bit about Wynne Intermediate School, they can kind of look into it and see how they have different teachers for different students. The Shine Committee is a place for students who want to use their voice for the community or the school of Wynne Intermediate School.
I really, really liked the school. When I was in first, so I was in primary. Like, that's when I first started it. Like, I didn't, know that much because I was in Minnesota when I was in kindergarten.
We have different people coming in from all over the community to help. Like, there's a survey that you take before a spark happens. You get to choose 4 different kind of clubs that you get to go in. And then the school gets to pick 2 of those. One for fall, one for spring. So whenever you take your fall spark clubs, you get to do stuff. Yeah, like, basically, there's a lot of different spark clubs. Each one is different, like weird science, hunting, fishing. There's all different kinds. And it was started by these 2 girls in high school in the East.
With Spark Club, the teachers have all the grades, so it's not just 3rd graders that were in my room. And Miss Holloway and I were the ones who did tinkering. So I cannot shout out Miss Holloway enough for all of her passions for School of Innovation. But so we were able to have former students in there and then students that I wouldn't necessarily get to see in the building on a day-to-day basis. But we had once a month for an hour we would get to work on tinkering projects together.
One of the biggest highlights of our school is our Spark Clubs. Our students really enjoy being enriched with all the different clubs that we have, and we have several clubs from music to cheerleading to chess, gardening, cooking, just different clubs that the students can enjoy. And this just gives them an opportunity to be enriched in areas that they may not otherwise have any exposure to. First of all, know who our students are and know where they are. And being data driven is a process that we've been doing for years. It's being able to look at the data so that we can identify the strengths and the weaknesses of our students. And as far as their interests, just having conversations with them, spending time with them. Hey, what do you enjoy?
This place is a team. Everybody around here works together. We have each other's back. it's very hard to find that.
Our model works for our kids, but there's so many different models out there, and so to know your students, know your staff. I treat, as an administrator, my teachers are like my classroom. So I have to form relationships with them. I have to know what their needs are. I have to check in on them from time to time, and I have to challenge them in those ways too. So just like they do their kids. And so without knowing them, I don't think you can fully do that.